morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, and I will be talking about my testimony. So when Val asked me to do this part of the service, I looked at him like he was crazy because I didn't think that I had a testimony. And then once I prayed on it, I realized that I actually did have a pretty big one. You don't have to overcome drug addiction or alcoholism to have a testimony. You don't need to have like a major life event that turns you to Christ. When I was little, I grew up going to St. John's in Aiken, South Carolina. My family was very, 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 very involved in the church. I went to preschool there. I went to Sunday school there. I sang in the children's choir. I volunteered for VBS. I led a group in VBS. And my mom ran my confirmation, and my dad volunteered in the youth group. So I was at church at least 3 times a week. Even with all that church, I still had a lukewarm faith. It was just a routine thing to go to church. It wasn't special. I would zone out during the sermons, but I was a little kid, and who doesn't zone out during the sermons? When you're little, I mean. No offense, Pastor Deborah. So I still had a lukewarm faith, and in Revelation chapter 3, verses 15 and 16, God says, "You are neither hot nor cold. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth." And so I think that just really means he wants you to have a hot faith or a cold faith. He doesn't want you in the middle. And when I was in 7th grade, my family moved to Texas. And I was kind of a small town girl. I was used to going to the grocery store and seeing like half of my family there, extended family, because all of my family lived in Aiken and always had. And I'd see my teachers there, I'd see all my friends there. You couldn't go anywhere without knowing somebody. So when I moved to a big city, I was faced with a lot of new temptations that I'd never really had the chance to experience before. And unfortunately, I gave into some of them. At the end of when I lived in Texas, I was in a really bad place with my faith and with God, and also my family, because I had been acting kind of negatively in my actions and my attitude a lot. And I kind of dug myself into a hole, and God had a different plan for me. So then I moved here, and this past summer, and that was the first summer I had ever been to Salkehatchie. And Salkehatchie was the most life-changing experience I've ever had in my whole life. In the 1 week that you're there, you feel every single emotion you can. You feel frustrated because a light won't fit in the ceiling fan or something, and you feel happy, and you feel like you've changed the world, and you feel angry, and you feel sad, and you feel overjoyed. And it's a really intense week. If you've ever been, you kind of know. And that week just completely changed my view on church and my faith. And the week after I got back from Salkehatchie was the first week I ever came to this church. And so I could feel right when I walked in that this is the place I was supposed to be. I had, when you go to like a conference or something and you just really get like up on Jesus and you have a really intense faith, but then it kind of dies down after a while of just going to regular church. It didn't this time. Quest has just been like the oxygen to the faith flame. And where am I? In 1 Corinthians 15:10, it was said, "But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace to me was not without effect." And I think since that week and since being here, I've really felt the effect of Christ on my life. And I think we have just impacted others around us, especially with all the service that Quest does. And I'll give you an example of that. Over Christmas break, I went to Santahatchee, which is like a mini Salkehatchie in the town of Rock Hill. We just find a house and we fix it up. And it's just amazing to see what you can do in such a short time. This family that we were helping, I think we we showed them Christ. We were kind of their hope because their house was about to be condemned, and it was crazy. There was bugs all in the wall. Like, you couldn't walk anywhere. You wouldn't want to touch anything. Their sewer wasn't working, so the house just had a certain smell to it. And of course, we were there, and we were like, oh my gosh, what is this smell? Like, I can't deal with it. But they had been living in that, which was really sad. Not only adults, but they had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, and it just really hurt me that they had to grow up in that environment. But they couldn't help it. They were just doing the best they could with what they had. And I think that when Quest came and fixed up their house, I think we showed them the light of Christ, and we were sent to that house for a reason. And I really hope that we changed that family's lives, especially the little girls. And I believe we were put there for a reason. I believe everybody here today is here for a reason. And I believe that my family was moved and I joined Quest for a reason, whether we know the reason or not yet. So I think God has a plan, and this is part of his plan for me.